Well, March 2025 is over, so now let's go back and recap some lost media found in that month. Sometime in the late 1990s, an American company called Media X would develop a video game called Big Brother that was to be released for the PC. And it was going to be based off of George Orwell's famous novel 1984, with the game serving as a sequel to the book, taking place where the book left off, where the player must play in the first-person perspective of a character named Eric Blair, and help him rescue his fiancée from the thought police by playing through 12 levels, with each level apparently lasting for over 5 hours in length. The player can make Eric interact with different characters, enemies, and puzzles, and later on join the Hacker Underground group, who are intent on overthrowing Big Brother, a dictatorial leader from the novel. Despite the game being lost for over more than 20 years and never releasing, it did get mentioned in a December 1998 issue of the video game magazine Next Generation, where it would feature an article that described it as an adventure game that uses a modern interface, real-time graphics, advanced facial animations, and environmental puzzles to deliver a fresh experience in the fatigued adventure genre of the late 1990s. At the time of making Big Brother, Media X was a pretty new company, being only 2.5 years old and still having yet to release a video game, which means that Big Brother was going to be their first ever video game. However, they couldn't use the Big Brother name at first, as they had to buy the rights to use it in order for them to make their game take place within the 1984 universe, before their game was first announced on May 28, 1998 in a press release, saying it would release sometime during late summer to early fall later that year. Although Media X would eventually push their release timeframe to the first quarter of 1999. And there also was a claim that it was pushed to early 2000, which would both not be when the game released because it would never end up releasing at all. Although it did make it to its final stages of production as late as September 24, 1999. Before Media X would lose the rights to the Big Brother title, as its rights holder, Newspeak, was attempting to find other publishers to pick up the game that they claimed was in its alpha stage. The game was last mentioned on November 15, 1999 in a Media X quarterly/transition report, which said that the company spent $240,160 in investing activities, primarily due to the quote-unquote increase in deferred software development costs for Big Brother and purchases of fixed assets. In 2021, Lost Media Wiki user 64s would email the founder of Media X, Matt McLaurin, about the game, to which he would respond stating that he would answer 64's questions. Although, after a long period of time of not coming back to answer any of them, and 64 sending a couple of follow-up emails, nothing came from this encounter. Eventually, a Lost Media Wiki user named Ziggy would attempt to contact both Matt McLaurin and Media X's art director Mark Gilster by phone, although he too would end up falling short of finding a build of the game after not receiving a response in over a few weeks. Recently, on March 1st, 2025, a build of the game from January 4th, 1999 was uploaded onto the Internet Archive by LMW user Shed Troll, who would say that it was a demo of the game with it also including other levels in its files. In 1987, a man by the name of John Henry Timmis IV would direct and film an experimental film that would end up becoming the only film he ever made, called The Cure for Insomnia, that would become known for being one of the longest films ever made, with it being over 87 hours in length. And the film doesn't have a plot, with it only featuring an artist named L.D. Grobin reading his 4,080-page poem titled A Cure for Insomnia over the course of 3 days and 15 hours, with some occasional clips from heavy metal and pornographic videos spliced in. And also, the film was made with the intent to cure insomniacs by reprogramming their biological clocks. It is known that the film was first played in its entirety at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago from January 31st to February 3rd, 1987 in one continuous showing, and despite the film being quite infamous, any copies of it ended up becoming lost. However, we did recently get a 1 minute and 22 long snippet of it on March 1st, 2025. When a company that quote-unquote explores otherworldly cinema called Bleeding Skull announced its Blu-ray collection of director John Henry Timmis IV's filmography, and included said snippet of The Cure for Insomnia, which shows the beginning of it, which is now available to watch on the Internet Archive if you want to see it. DXP was a block that aired on Disney XD from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. every night from July 15, 2017 to sometime in November 2017. And it contained content produced by Disney Digital Network and Digimime Productions, along with shows produced by other companies like Vice, Attack Media, and IGN, with the content being anything related to video games, such as video game tournaments for example, which they broadcasted numerous times. When the block came to an end in November 2017, Disney XD still aired reruns of content from the block on their network, which were episodes from the series Parker Plays and Polaris Player Select, as well as airing a series of Madden NFL 18 tournaments in conjunction with ESPN in early 2018. However, despite some reruns, various episodes from certain shows on the block became lost. During the time DXP was still on the air, their shows were made available on demand before they would quickly disappear. However, a few episodes of certain DXP shows were available to watch on YouTube, and one of the shows, called The IGN Show, had all of its episodes available to watch online, with a few edits here and there. From February 18th to 20th of this year, a user named Tomshire would upload TS files of Season 1 of Polaris Player Select, along with the first 6 episodes of Season 2. And more recently on March 1st, he would upload 3 more episodes from Season 2 of the show, with him adding the rest of Season 2's episodes 3 days later on March 4th. And even more recently on March 25th to 27th, he would upload the entire 3rd and final season of the show, making the entirety of Polaris Player Select found, and also the entirety of the DXP block found too, since it was the last show on the block to have all of its episodes found. Vegas Virgins is a Lion TV show that was created and aired in 2005 on the network Challenge TV, and it centers around 5 Brits and 5 Americans who are sent to Las Vegas to take a 2-week crash course on the game poker, with the winner getting a seat on the high rollers table for a shot at $10,000, or €6,000. The show was narrated by British actor, narrator, and voice actor Colin McFarlane, and it would eventually air on the channels FTN, Virgin 1, and Channel 1 as reruns from 2006 to 2011, with reruns also airing on Challenge TV throughout the early 2010s as well. Prior to March 2025, full episodes of the show were pretty hard to find online, since all that was available online to watch was just a few clips from it, a promo of it, and articles referencing the show being on the internet. However, on March 1st, 2025, a YouTuber named Blue Frog would upload most of the show's episodes in their entirety to YouTube, after acquiring them from a tape collection that belonged to one of the show's contestants. And Blue Frog would upload episodes 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, and 9 in their entirety, along with partially uploading episodes 3, 4, and 7. There are a total of 10 episodes of the show, so as of making this video, the show's 10th and final episode is the only completely lost episode. Dreamwife is a UK all-girl band that originated in Brighton, England, whose songs are a mixture of the genres punk rock, indie rock, and pop, and they are known for releasing 3 albums as of making this video, which were Dreamwife in 2018, So When You Gonna in 2020, which was their highest charting album in their home country, and Social Lubrication in 2023, along with one live album called IRL Live in London 2020 in 2020. The band's songs often mention issues related to feminism, gender roles, body image, and sexual objectification, and they are known for enacting a policy during their live shows called a quote-unquote bitches to the front policy, where they ask the audience to part in order to allow women who wish to mosh together to move closer to the front of the stage. Before the band released their debut album Dreamwife in 2018, the band released multiple EPs, with their oldest EP being one that was released in April 2014 called the Pom Pom EP, which, according to a listing on Rate Your Music, featured 4 tracks titled Be With Me, Surf, Chemistry, and Believe. Prior to the EP being found in March 2025, it was considered lost and barely ever mentioned by anyone, although it did get mentioned on a blog about Icelandic music in May 2014, since Dreamwife's lead singer Rakel Milk is of Icelandic descent. According to the Wayback Machine, the Pom Pom EP was available at release on Bandcamp until sometime in 2015, although unlike Bandcamp, we are unsure if it was released on streaming services. And I should mention that one of the EP's tracks, which was Believe, was eventually released as a single in 2015 according to a ghost Spotify listing, which has since been deleted. And by deleted, I mean I'm referring to the single and not the listing. But anyways, it is unclear whether the single was the same recording as the track on the Pom Pom EP or a new recording. At the time of Dreamwife releasing the EP on Bandcamp, they were an obscure band that pretty much no one knew about. However, despite their obscurity, 7 anonymous listeners were listed on Last.fm for the Pom Pom EP, as well as free anonymous listeners on Last.fm for the Pom Pom demos. But eventually, the EP would have more listeners when on March 3rd, 2025, YouTuber At Risk Media Archive would upload the entire EP to YouTube after finding it, giving everyone a chance to finally listen to Dreamwife's first EP. On January 26, 2007, a user named Adam554 would mention a song in a New Wave Outpost forums post, suggesting a possible name for the then unknown song, which he believed was called Ripper in Red, and also suggesting that the band who recorded it, called Tanzpest, might be from Cambridge, Ontario. 5 years later, on December 8, 2012, Adam554, who was going by the username Alan, would post the song to Spirit of Radio, saying that the song was recorded off of CKMS radio at the University of Waterloo in the 80s, while also mentioning the possibility of it being played on CFNY too, giving us slightly more info about the song. And unlike his previous post from 5 years prior, he managed to provide a short sample recording of the song. Jumping ahead 12 years later to February 17, 2025, a well-known Lost Wave user named Mark Trail, who is also referred to as Most Mysterious 90s, managed to find a band with the name Tanzpest, to which he would then contact a sister of one of the band members named Allison Morris, who would respond saying that the song was recorded by the band, confirming them to be the band behind Ripper in Red, which still had yet to have its name confirmed. But recently, on March 5, 2025, Lost Wave users Mark Trail and Azure Blast, along with Allison Morris and someone named Jeff Ibsen, managed to confirm that the song's name is indeed Ripper in Red, after they found the entire recording of the song, and also on that same day, the full song was uploaded to YouTube. Alright, so this entry is about a newly found episode from a show that I covered back in my video on Lost Media found in January of 2024. So I might be repeating what I already said a year ago when explaining the show to you guys. Anyways, Dick and Dom in the Bungalow was a UK television program made by the BBC, with it being presented by Dick, who was played by Richard McCourt, and Dom, who was played by Dominic Wood. And it was an unscripted live show where Dick and Dom let 6 kids, later 5 kids and celebrities, into their house for games. The show would last for over 5 series, with the first 2 series airing on the CBBC channel in the fall of 2002 and spring of 2003 respectively, before the show would premiere on BBC One in the fall of 2003 while still airing on the CBBC channel, so it can reach a much wider audience. Dick and Dom in the Bungalow had a Saturday show and a Sunday show, with the Sunday show airing exclusively on the CBBC channel throughout its run until the fall of 2004, where it returned again on BBC One. And later, in the fall of 2005, the Sunday show would return again to BBC One, where it was interrupted multiple times and forced to go to BBC Two due to news events, before it was permanently moved over to BBC Two in January of 2006, until the show ended in March of 2006. Some small clips have appeared online from the series, along with a full recording of the last live episode of the series that aired on March 11th, 2006. And it should be noted that any full episodes of the show are unlikely to be repeated again, due to their live nature, usage of premium rate phone numbers, and use of copyrighted content. such as cartoons that the BBC had the rights to air at the time but may no longer have. As of making this video, the entire show, which aired over 260 free episodes, has yet to be completely found. And recently, on March 6, 2025, the 52nd episode from the show's 4th season was found by a YouTuber named Breadfang, who was the same YouTuber that uploaded the show's 7th episode of its 1st season, which was an entry in my Lost Media found in January of 2024 video. Star Ocean Blue Spear Mobile was a 2009 mobile game that was a remake of the 2001 Game Boy Color game Star Ocean Blue Spear, that was developed by Tri-Ace and published by Square Enix, with it being released for NTT Docomo's iMode service, featuring new graphics, new artwork, new music, and a reworked battle system. The game was never officially translated or released outside its home country, Japan, like its original Game Boy Color version, and it would be available to download for almost 9 years until it was shut down in 2018 after Square Enix would cut off support for their mobile distribution servers, after they previously announced the shutdown of their mobile services for Final Fantasy Mobile back in 2017. The game shared a very similar formula to the previous Star Ocean games and the Tales of series, with it featuring a non-turn-based combat system playing similar to a one-on-one fighting game with some RPG elements thrown in. And at the start of every battle, the player must choose a character out of 3 possible party characters to play as, with them being available to switch between at any given moment. I should also mention that the game was later released on the Yahoo Mobile and Easy Web services in December of 2009, several months after it first became available to download. After the game became no longer downloadable, a multitude of screenshots from it would surface online. However, there were 0 attempts at documenting or archiving it. And to make matters worse, certain elements of the game, such as some cutscenes, skill animations, and even boss sprites, were nowhere to be found on the internet, with the only available video footage of the game showing only the first 20 minutes of it. Recently, on March 6, 2025, a trial version of the mobile remake was found and preserved by an anonymous user, which only allows the player to play as the characters Priestess, Reina, and Opera, as well as only allowing the player to play in the beginning area, so it's only partially found. From 1986 to 1987, a children's television series called Zoobilee Zoo would air on television, that featured actors dressed as animal characters who live in a magical land called Zoobilee Zoo, with each of them possessing a unique artistic skill and frequently breaking into song and dance routines. Each episode of the show centers on the main characters called Zoobles as they play together and encounter common difficulties of young children, primarily focusing on the themes of cooperation, making friends, and creativity, with the episodes being hosted by American actor, dancer, and singer Ben Vereen, who opens them by greeting viewers while dressed as a spotted snow leopard named Mayor Ben, who is the mayor of Zoobilee Zoo. The show would continue to run in syndication on several television networks such as the Learning Channel, Hallmark Channel, and PBS stations until 2000, airing all of its previously aired episodes, which were over 65 of them. Recently, on March 6, 2025, a lost episode from the show was found by a YouTuber named WasAtKangaroo when he uploaded the episode to his channel, making it available to watch. Here is a very quick entry for you guys, but an interesting one nonetheless. Recently, on March 8, 2025, a YouTuber by the name of Nitrate Nerd uploaded a lost silent film from 1929 titled The Prodigal Pup, and he managed to find the film after discovering a big stash of 1920s Kodascopes at an estate sale in Connecticut a few years ago, to which he saw that the film was in the stash before uploading it for everyone to see. According to Nitrate Nerd, The Prodigal Pup was part of a series of films called the Lemley Novelty Series that were directed by a former actor named Jack Rowlands, although he was credited as Jacques Rowlands in the film, which wasn't the only film he was credited by that name. And it starred a dog named Snappy and a 4-year-old girl named Phyllis Hurst. Dancing Eyes is a 1996 puzzle arcade video game that was developed and published by video game and entertainment company Namco. that featured gameplay in which players must play as a monkey named Arusu-san and complete each level by destroying all of the tiles off the grid of a 3D object, with the majority of the game's levels revolving around the player having to slowly remove clothing off of women alongside destroying cobras, UFOs, and cardboard boxes. And in the game, enemies will appear and chase the player, which must be avoided or else they will end up losing a life. The game also features power-ups that appear with different abilities for the player to collect. And every time a level is completed, the player is briefly allowed to round whatever object was in the level as it poses for a camera. The game would become notorious for its sexual nature and comical design, with publications disliking it upon its initial release, viewing it as inappropriate for arcades. Although the game would end up being praised for its quirky characters and fun gameplay in retrospect. In 2011, Namco Bandai Games would announce that they were producing an HD remaster of Dancing Eyes for the PlayStation 3, as part of their Namco Generations line of modernized arcade game remakes, with it only being released in Japan. Although I should mention that English translations have hinted at a possibility of it being released internationally. And it was also going to be compatible with PlayStation Move motion controllers. However, the announcement would not be received with praise, but rather it was mostly panned, with it generating confusion and disdain from multiple publications, who would, just like the publications did in the past, comment on the game's sexual appeal and bizarrely comical design. Namco then became pretty quiet about the remake for over a year, until in 2012 when it was announced that it was cancelled for quote-unquote various circumstances. Although there is a good chance that the controversy surrounding it was a factor in its cancellation. Recently, on March 11th, 2025, a user by the name of AntVio would dump a QA build of the Lost remake to Hidden Palace that was dated March 10th, 2011, before releasing the build 2 days later on March 13th, and it was found on a broken test unit that he got from a French collector. And according to AntVio, the build appears to be a final localization build. Fugs on Film is an American adult Flash animated web series that was created by Dan Todd and produced by Mondo Mini Shows, that had its episodes only being released online from 1999 to 2001, with them also being available to watch on various websites that supported Flash. And the series centered around two English criminals named Cecil and Stubby, who have a love and passion for movies, with them both making jokes and expressing criticism/appreciation towards newly released movies or notable movies from the past, with a good portion of the episodes featuring a film being rated based on the number of Rolexes worn on Stubby's arm. And most episodes ended off with an interactive trivia quiz that had 2 different animations for each question that was answered right and wrong. Eventually, the series slowly got removed from the Mondo Media website they were on, leaving us to wonder how many Fugs on Film episodes were ever produced, with the Lost Media Wiki believing the number of episodes to be 106. Recently, on March 13, 2025, a 2001 episode from the series, along with its quiz, was uploaded to YouTube by Magic Bag Archives. And the episode was a review for the 2001 American romantic crime comedy film, The Mexican. Hey guys, I'm just gonna give you all a quick update, as while I was in the middle of working on this video, another episode of Dick and Dom and Da Bungalow was found by the same YouTuber who found the previous episode that I mentioned earlier. And it was the 54th episode of its 4th season that was found on March 16th, 2025. And yeah, that is pretty much all I need to say. Drawn Together is an adult animated sitcom that aired on Comedy Central from 2004 to 2007. And it was a parody of house-based reality shows, with Comedy Central even advertising it as the first animated reality TV series that starred 8 cartoon characters who each belonged to their own genre of animation, with them all parodying personalities that were seen in reality television shows at the time while living together in one house. In some episodes, the characters will participate in challenges that are similar to reality television challenges, although that premise was largely dropped in the show's later episodes. And Drawn Together ran for a total of 36 episodes in a span of 3 seasons. At some point during or prior to 2003, the show's creators Dave Jesser and Matt Silverstein, along with former Simpsons character layout artist Jordan Young, would create a short pitch pilot for Drawn Together in order for them to pitch it to Comedy Central. And prior to the pilot being found, very little was known about it, with the only known production details for it coming from a 2003 Variety article, which mentioned that the pilot was over 4 minutes long and was screened at some point prior to October 2003. For the then programming executive of Comedy Central, Lauren Corau, who immediately allowed the series to be greenlit. However, there was one single piece of footage from it that surfaced, which was a brief audio-less clip included in a behind-the-scenes documentary on a DVD for the show's 2010 movie, The Drawn Together Movie, The Movie. Recently, on March 17, 2025, one of the show's creators, Matt Silverstein, would post the full pilot to his own YouTube channel, making it available for everyone to finally watch. Sometime in 1998, before Family Guy first premiered on Fox, the show's creator Seth MacFarlane created a 16-minute-long pilot for the show, after Fox gave him a small budget of around $50,000 to make it. To which Seth then got to work, spending 6 months animating the pilot, co-creating it alongside Jim Keeshan Productions, which wasn't the best production company to co-create with, as they would reportedly take all of the credit for making it and file a lawsuit against Fox and Seth MacFarlane in 1999 that was eventually dismissed on December 28, 2000. Eventually, the pilot would be remade and become the show's first episode, Death Has a Shadow, with the first 7 minutes of it, excluding a portion of the communion wine cutaway, being made available to watch in the Family Guy Volume 2 DVD set that was released in 2003, where we are able to see many differences between the unaired pilot and Death Has a Shadow, such as characters wearing different clothing, different character designs, and multiple scenes that were eventually cut. However, more than half of the pilot was unable to be watched. Prior to the full pilot being found very recently, only snippets from the pilot's lost section were available to be viewed, which were in an interview with Seth MacFarlane, in an early commercial for the show, and on a Family Guy fans tripod site. And also some images from it can be seen too, which were on said tripod site, on the pilot's official IMDb page, and in a few Blogspot articles. I should also mention that the pilot may have been previously shared around years ago, although we don't know exactly where. But there is some evidence to back this theory up, as an edited screenshot from the chicken vaginas gag that was in the pilot's lost section was used for the landing page to the official shop page for the show that was dated circa 1999. For over more than 25 years, the pilot was considered lost, until very recently when on March 20th, 2025, a user named Ghost the Dead Girl discovered that the full 16-minute pilot was on a website that belonged to one of the pilot's digital ink and paint crew members named Robert Paulson, which was added to the website circa September 4th, 2022. So now we can watch one of the most sought-after lost animated pilots. Well, this is another entry that refers to a show that I covered in a previous video, which is the new Price is Right that I covered in my video on Lost Media found in January of 2024. So I guess I will have to explain the show to you guys again. The new Price is Right, or just simply The Price is Right as most people call it, was a short-lived syndicated game show that was the third 30-minute syndicated edition of The Price is Right, airing for only 4 months from September 12, 1994 to January 27, 1995. And it was hosted by actor Doug Davidson, who is known for starring in the CBS soap opera The Young and the Restless, and announced by Burton Richardson, who previously was the announcer for the Arsenio Hall show. The show's format differed from the original Price is Right format, where the show starts with one contestant being called up on stage to play the game, unlike in the original series where 4 chosen contestants have to guess the price of an item, and whoever guesses the closest without going over gets to play the game. And this happens 2 more times before the showcase showdown at the end of each episode, where the 3 contestants play The Price Was Right as part of the showcase showdown, in which all of them must guess the price of an item that is shown in a vintage TV commercial and guess the price of it that it had at the time its commercial aired, and whichever contestant made the closest bid will go on to play the showcase. Also, I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier, but when I said original series, I was referring to the current and most well-known version of The Price is Right that aired since 1972. and not its precursor that aired from 1956 to 1965, which I just found out existed. But basically, by original, I am referring to regular Price is Right without any changes to it. In the showcase, the winning contestant gets shown a showcase, and after they are shown it, they must stop a $10,000 price range, going up a chart of amounts ranging from $10,000 to $70,000. And if the price of the showcase shows up in the range, the contestant wins the showcase. The new Price is Right also had other differences from the original series, such as a more modern aesthetic, an entirely new set of music cues, and changes to some of the classic Price is Right games. Recently, on March 23, 2025, an unaired pilot episode for the show was found when it was uploaded to game show host Wink Martindale's YouTube channel, making it no longer lost. Alright, so while I was explaining the last entry, I didn't tell you guys that KTLA anchor Mark Kriski was originally going to host the new Price is Right before Doug Davidson was selected. But now, I get to tell you it. To briefly summarize this entry, in 1993, 1 year before the show was greenlit, 4 pilots for it were shot from August 3rd to August 4th, 1993, that featured KTLA anchor Mark Kriski as the host. And as I just mentioned, Doug Davidson would end up being selected as the host, which happened when the series was picked up for syndication in 1994, to which they then shot a new pilot for the show that had him as the host. Very recently, on March 24th, 2025, one of the 4 Mark Kriski pilots was uploaded to Wink Martindale's YouTube channel, leaving free Kriski pilots that have yet to be found. Blackpink is a South Korean girl group that originated in Seoul, South Korea that consists of 4 members named Jisoo, Jennie, Rose, and Lisa. And they are known for being the highest charting female K-pop act on both the Billboard Hot 100 and Billboard 200 charts, with their single Ice Cream featuring Selena Gomez being their highest charting Billboard Hot 100 single, peaking at number 13, and their album Born Pink being their highest charting Billboard 200 album, peaking at number 1. Blackpink is also one of the best-selling girl groups of all time, with over 40 billion streams and 20 million records sold worldwide. And stylistically, the group is associated with releasing music in the girl crush genre, which is a K-pop genre that emphasizes strong, independent, and confident female idols that often focuses around feminist themes and challenging traditional gender roles, as well as containing some elements typical of tomboys and or rebellious fashion, which often appear to take influence from punk and techwear styles. Very recently, on March 30th, 2025, an unreleased music video for their 2019 single Don't Know What to Do surfaced online, albeit in pretty poor quality. So, as of now, we have to wait for a better quality version of it to surface. And those were pieces of lost media that were found in March 2025. Now let's see what lost media April 2025 will give us. And until that month is over, I will see you guys in my next video.